Podcasting live at the time we recorded it. From the studios in downtown Gulfport, Florida, it's WGAB, the GabCast.
Welcome back to WGAB, the GabCast, a Gabber newspaper production. I'm Cameron Healy, the assistant editor of the Gabber newspaper, and I'm with...
I'm Patrick Heinzen. I'm the news and politics reporter for the Gabber newspaper. And what are we going to talk about today, Cam?
We're going to talk about Gulfport's first and only female mayor. Mm-hmm. You got to have a little one-on-one with her, which is fantastic.
She was great.
Yeah, and we're also going to have everybody's favorite segment, Kathy with a cop. And then we're going to talk about a call for artists for the newly renovated President Barack Obama main library. So let's start off with Yvonne Johnson.
Yeah.
Who is she?
She was Gulfport's first and only female mayor, like you said.
Yeah, that's insane behavior.
She was first elected to the city council in 1972.
Wow.
And she served for 15 years. But those last 2 years, 85 to 87, she served as mayor.
Word.
And like we said, she's the only female mayor ever. And I got to sit down with her. She invited me to her home. I sat down and spoke with her for a little while. And she was awesome.
Yeah.
She was very energetic and happy to talk. And she had some great stories about her time in the city council and what led her there. She started on the PTA. Mm-hmm. And eventually she kind of worked up to getting really far in the PTA. She was actually the district president for the state PTA. Mm-hmm. And at that time, she didn't go into too many specifics. I mean, it was so long ago that it's hard to remember exactly what was going on. But she talked a lot about how people around the PTA kept coming to her and being like, "We're having issues with city council, and we like you, and we want you to run." So she ran.
Yeah.
And she won by the most votes of any candidate by that time. So nobody had ever gotten more votes than her.
This is why we need more women in power.
I mean, that's the thing is
we need more women wanting to be in power like that.
It's been 40 years almost 40 years now since she was mayor.
Did you say how old she is?
She is 96 years old. She just turned
guys,
96.
96. She is killing the game of life.
And she's still full of life.
Like you said, she's energetic. Like she's not what you might possibly think a 96-year-old is doing. Like, I don't know. Everybody's different. But she is living her life.
She was... I spoke with her, and one of the things that she said was something that she enjoys to do is, with family, go for a drive around the town just to, see what's changing.
Yeah.
Because
since she's been here for...
Yeah, she's been here since 1951. Mm-hmm. That's longer than... I'd venture to say anybody watching this podcast.
That's older than anybody in this office, I think. Kathy's nodding. So that is correct. I was right.
Yeah, but she was awesome in her... One of the things that she spoke about, like I said, it was so long ago that the stories that she has aren't, too specific. There's not, names of people to an extent. But she really had an attitude that was, you're not going to stop me from doing what I want to do.
Yeah, because at that time, yeah.
What she was talking about, how she put in her bid to qualify for the election, and pretty much immediately, before she was even elected, somebody put a dead fish on her doorstep.
Yeah, what?
They put a for sale sign in her yard, and
these aren't, that's not a prank. That's somebody being, genuinely harassing somebody else.
No, I mean... that's a big deal. And
I can understand. It was probably a lot to go through as a human being and a woman. Duh.
Definitely. And right after the election, they had their first meeting. They kind of introduced the new council members.
Yeah.
And somebody asked her, so what would you do if somebody insulted you or said something about you? And she just told them back, they already have, and I'm here.
That's not stopping me from doing what I want to do.
At one of her first meetings, they voted on an ordinance that allowed a developer in Town Shores to build a building in Town Shores, one of the It was right around when Town Shores was first built.
Yeah.
So it was like the last building, and residents did not want it because it was blocking their view.
Mm-hmm.
But in previous meetings, the council had already approved this. This was just the second reading.
Yeah.
And it was her first big vote, and she voted to allow them to build it because she said you can't promise someone something one day, then take it away the next.
They approved of it prior to the second reading, so it's like,
And then I asked her how people kind of reacted to that, and she said they told me that they would never vote for me again, and then I retired 15 years later.
Yeah, right. Like,
so
it's like,
it didn't stop her. She was
no.
not. She put her head down and she voted and just wanted to keep going.
Yeah.
And this was like we said, she's been the only female mayor.
Yeah.
Before and after that.
No, that's
so
crazy.
we've had strong female council members.
Yeah.
But outside of her, there hasn't been a mayor, and I think that was different for people. But clearly, Gulfport was okay with it.
Yeah.
At
Gulfport
least to an extent.
wanted
15
it.
years she was there. 2 years as the mayor. Unfortunately, she told me that she would have run again, but there was some issues in her family, and she had to step down. But I mean, she never wanted to originally. She told me that there were some days that she wishes that she never turned in her name, but at the end of the day, she was more than happy to do it, and it was just such a big deal for her to get done, you know?
Yeah. I think I wish I met her and went with you and talked with her. Because Kathy says that she is amazing.
Yeah.
And you're saying the same thing, and she's a legend. So
yeah, she's definitely a Gulfport legend. Check out, just read our front page story this week to learn more about Yvonne Johnson and the things that she did in Gulfport and how cool she is.
But you know who else is a legend? Kathy Celestri. So this is what we're going to have next. We're going to have Kathy with a cop. We'll be right back.
On WGAB, the GabCast.
All right. Well, thanks for that. And welcome back to Coffee Kathy with the Cop, or whatever the hell they're calling it. So thanks, Josh Stone, again. So we were going to talk about police stuff, but they said something.
They did. I was hearing it, and I'm like, oh, my God.
So
Former Mayor Yvonne Johnson, my dad actually ran against her for mayor back in, I want to say 84, 85. I was a kid. I had no
Well, she took office, in 72, and then we just don't let people leave in Gulfport.
I suppose,
you can't give up the office. But
it was so interesting.
Here. Yeah, my dad ran against her.
Yeah, my dad ran against for mayor. No, he lost, obviously.
It contributes to my theory. It's a working theory that there are actually only 6 people in Gulfport.
Yes.
So
it was a small town back then. I mean, now it's a little more.
It still has kind of that. It does have that vibe, though.
Yeah.
I have a friend who's a retired officer, and he was thinking about moving back to Florida. And I'm like, you should come out of retirement and work at Gulfport. I'm like, it's really not your typical, not your typical police force. Our police have parents who run against the people who pay the police. It's great.
Yeah.
So, your dad, of course, he ran for office a few times.
Yeah, a few times.
I think he's done now, right?
Yeah, he's in his late 70s.
But
he's enjoying retirement.
It does say something about how accessible people feel government is, that they can throw their hat in the ring. And
yeah, I mean, I think everybody has, or some people, they want to do public service. If that's for them, great. I mean, there's different forms of public service,
So
teaching or being a cop or throwing your hat into a small town political arena for sure.
Because that's volunteer work.
It really is.
I mean, make no mistake about it. I don't care how many raises we give our city council. That is a volunteer post with a stipend.
Yeah, I mean, and you see. I mean, it is what it is. Sometimes you see council meetings or sometimes things don't go a way citizen. And we see that in law enforcement too, where we have to maybe give somebody bad news and they don't like it. But it's definitely, it's not for the faint of heart. I mean, God bless former Mayor Johnson for doing all those great things that she did.
Somebody put a for sale sign in her yard when she ran. That wasn't your dad, was it?
I hope not. No, I was itty bitty, so I don't know.
When I read that, I'm like, oh, that's genius.
I'm pretty sure it wasn't him.
That's amazing. I'm totally doing that now.
Yeah. Wow.
So he ran for office. The last time he ran for office, you were already a sworn officer.
I was, yeah.
So had he won,
that would have been weird.
Scale of 1 to 10, awkward.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, how does that work? Is this a small town, right?
And
What would have happened?
I would have stayed out of all that fray, put it that way. Because I was actually, instructed when I was hired here by the former police chief, Kurt Willix. Like, hey, I know your dad kind of does, gets into this kind of arena. You're going to stay out of it. And I'm like, yes, sir.
Someone's finally given me permission.
Right. Thank you so much.
Well, I mean, I'm picturing, so for example, current mayor, Sam, is our neighbor. He lives about a block away. And when he got elected, the very first time he got elected, obviously, I didn't own the Gabber. I was working there. My husband and I went over to his victory party where he and his band, because, yes, our mayor has a band, were playing in the backyard. And I don't know, about 10 o'clock, the police came and they knocked on the door.
Noise complaint?
Yes. And so the police, I will never forget this. They said, first of all, Mayor, congratulations. Second of all,
keep it down.
Can you keep it down? I mean, so this is like real police issues. And I'm just picturing if your dad, like you had to go to your dad's victory party and ask him to keep it down. You wouldn't have done that, right? You would have had to say, I'm sorry, I'm not going to take that call.
And that's I think any officer that works in law enforcement that would encounter a situation involving a family member or somebody like that, it's like, okay, I got to back away from this and somebody else needs to step in. Because you don't want that perception of the conflict.
Right, I mean, because I can think of one time in the police history, I wrote about it. These people are mostly gone now, where somebody was arrested and labeled a sex offender, and when you dug into the records, you found out that there was a custody battle and there was a journal found at the girl's school, and they called the police, and the girl's dad was a cop, and he answered the call. Like that to me right there, I'm like, that's really shady.
And
so
every once in a while, not often, but every once in a while, I get a call from my dad. Because we call frequently. I visit frequently.
You're his kid, right? So you talk to him.
I'll go there for lunch sometimes, and inevitably, maybe once a year or once every other year, I'll get this, hey, Josh, guess what? And he'll explain some sort of problem that may require a police answer or a police response. I'm like, hey, Dad, call a police officer.
Excuse me, that was our marketing director. Yeah, she's our marketing director. She gets a little lost sometimes.
But I'll tell my dad, it's like, you got to call somebody else, man.
I mean, I can it's, hey, can you, that's how that generation works too. So you grew up here.
Yeah.
Your dad and mom still live in the house you grew up in.
Well, we moved a lot. I don't know why, but we moved a lot. And they ended up settling in a house on 51st in 2000
Don't
block.
give the address.
No.
Don't give the address.
But at some point, the school board bought it and they moved somewhere else in
Yeah.
Gulfport. So they live somewhere else in Gulfport now. But I've lived here.
Have you ever had to arrest any of your friends from childhood?
Yes.
How does that go?
Because
we are a small town, right?
At
so you bump
first,
into people.
when you're a young cop, because it's all new and fresh and you know the rules and the laws and things like that, but it is awkward. It's like, I knew that guy, that sucks, But they broke the law. So if you have to take an enforcement action like a ticket or take somebody to jail, at first it's awkward. But as you progress in your career, it's like, look, this is a job. It's not personal. It's business. If there's probable cause to do something, we have to do something.
Well, look, I don't know all the police officers, but I figure at this point in my life in Gulfport, I am better off if I'm speeding. I have a better chance of getting out of the ticket if it's a cop who doesn't know me, right? Because if the cop knows me, they're not going to they don't want to be accused of, well, you let Celestia off because she's your friend, right? You don't want to.
This is true, but, also cops have amazing discretion in those circumstances. It's like.
I'll remind them of that the next time they tag me at 90 on Gulfport.
You take the offense and you take the somebody's driving record, for instance, or whatever. I mean, the issuance of tickets in this city has actually gone down pretty significantly. I don't think it's because we get fewer violations. It's the officers utilize that discretion to educate more than to penalize and cite. Tickets cost so much money, especially with inflation right now. So, I mean, if I give you a $300 ticket when your income has risen 18% and over the year and the cost of living has gone up 21+%, I mean, cops aren't just heartless dudes that just are men and women who give out tickets and say,
no, I get it. Inflation's actually coming down, but I still don't want the ticket. So I'll tell you a good story about your chief.
Okay.
Before he was chief, years ago, I don't know if you remember, I used to have this little pink scooter, and I rode that because I was broke, and gas in a car was expensive. It was back when gas was $4 a gallon. So I had this little pink scooter. And I was going somewhere in downtown Gulfport, and I got where I was going, pulled up my phone, and there's a text message. And I mean, on my Nokia Gold 3390. That's how long ago this was. It wasn't a smartphone. And it was the chief. But he wasn't the chief yet. It was Vince. He goes, hey, am I going to have to interrupt my lunch at O'Matty's to come give you a ticket for running that stop sign, or will you not do it again? And I thought that was really cool. And I even said something to Kurt, who was the chief at the time. He goes, well, I want to know why I didn't give you a ticket. And I felt bad. And I said something to Rob. He's like, look, he says, I made you think about it. He says, are you going to do it again? I'm like, actually, no. He's like, well, that's the goal. He says, the goal isn't just to give you tickets.
It's to reduce.
It's to change the behavior.
Yes.
So I always respected that it wasn't punitive.
Yeah. And I think the younger officers realize this, which is why, like, you can actually go to the clerk of the court, maybe look at how many citations that we actually write per year. They actually keep that stuff in this database now. Where, when I first started, people are issuing a lot of tickets, and nowadays it's not so much. And I think it's more of a, if I can educate you to stop that behavior, well then cool, because it's freaky enough and very unnerving to be stopped by a person with a badge and a gun anyway.
Yeah.
So, but there are circumstances where, if you're going like 15 miles an hour over the speed limit or something like that, well, maybe you kind of deserve the ticket. I don't know.
So how fast can I go before you ticket me?
No, it's
doesn't
not
work that I
doesn't
can't
work
get
that
a.
way. It's
Damn,
it's
you
case
are
by
so
case.
hardcore. When I took driver's ed in high school, they went over the exam the day before in the class, and the instructor gave if the speed limit is 55, how fast can you go? And he actually gave 60. And the next day he's like, I gave you the wrong answer. And I always felt like that was like his telling us it's okay to go 5 miles over. No one's going to pull you over 5 miles over.
Well, everybody is human, right? Everybody's.
It's the working theory.
You should travel the speed limit. I mean, if you go 5 over, I mean, if I'm looking, am I looking for the 5 mile an hour over violation, or am I looking for a felon or a burglar or things like that? Okay. But also you got to take into account the faster you go based on where you're driving. If you're doing 15 plus over in like a 35, the chances of you being injured in that crash are multiplied greatly, almost every 10 miles an hour you start going up.
Well, and there are some instances where even like Waldo and Lottie, they were notorious for being AAA says they're speed traps. I pulled their budget out, and I was looking at it, and the speeding tickets are a huge part of their revenue.
Well, they actually passed a law.
I know they don't do it anymore, but it was funding like protective equipment. I mean, I was thinking about it. I'm like, so you've got this road that started out as 301, this very quaint road. Now it's a traffic sewer. They're capitalizing on it because it's going to keep their community from ever being any better, right? Because it's divided by this road. They're making money off people who are not really caring about that community. And what does it help the officers get gear? Does it give you bulletproof vests? I mean, how do you? I subsidize those taxpayers, man. Help them.
I mean, but policing's not for profit. It's not for
It's
profit.
not for profit, but if you have people who, I've seen people still fly through those 35s at 70s. And it's like, that's somebody's neighborhood.
Yeah.
So I can get on board with it as long as it's not me getting the ticket. I have given law enforcement in Pinellas County and FHP a good portion of my revenue. Let me just say that.
Actually, I got stopped by a Gulfport police officer when I was 18 or 19. And this is back when I actually had a cell phone. And
You had a cell phone when you were 18 or 19?
I paid for it. Because I worked
Were you
hard.
selling drugs?
No. It's, in case something happens or anything like that. It's
When I was a
for
teenager, the only
emergencies.
people who had cell phones were selling drugs. Are you sure?
I was not selling drugs.
Okay.
Kathy, I promise.
Just checking. This is why all the
At any
cops won't
rate-
come on the podcast.
At any
Go
rate,
on.
I got pulled over by an Officer Adams. He's a former officer with Gulfport. And I'm calling my mom. I'm like, I'm going to be late coming home or something like that. And I told her what happened. She's like, pass the phone. And I'm like, oh, my God. I'm like, something's going to happen. And she's like thanking the officer for giving me the ticket. And I'm like, thanks, Mom.
Oh, that's so sweet.
I earned it, though. I did. I was going way too fast. So.
That's really, because, teenage boys are idiots.
Yeah, I was once before.
No, I mean, that's why you're not allowed to
Yeah.
rent cars till you're 25, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, this has come like just to a beautiful little full circle thing with your dad
I know.
and Yvonne and you not selling drugs apparently, but still being
I
able
had
to
a
afford a
cell
cell phone. You're not that much younger than me.
Well, this is back, 98, 99.
Okay, that's right on the edge.
You could
are
get,
a little bit
you
younger
could,
than
you
me.
could get a phone for free so long as you paid the bill back then.
Yeah, and the
and
bill
some
was
of
like
it's now.
$800 a month.
No, it depends on how you use the phone. It was like 25 cents a minute with nights and weekends free.
No
and that's
data, 'cause there
basically-
was no
right,
data.
There's no data, But it's like you sparingly used it. But if God forbid something happened, you'd want to. It was. I think mainly it was a leash for my parents on me because I was still living at home.
And to thank the police when they gave you a
Right, and to
traffic
thank them
ticket.
when I gave them a ticket.
That's awesome.
But like in case something, my parents were very, very concerned parents. They didn't want you to get hurt or anything like that. So like any means of communication, they wanted. And I have it now with my daughter. She's 16 and driving. She'll be 17 in September.
There's no way
And
a
she has a
16-year-old
phone.
now is not going to have a phone. Though.
No, but now it's a phone and it's all kinds of stuff. You know, LoJack her car or whatever too. Make sure I know where she is. You know.
Shouldn't say that. She's not supposed to know you know that.
Yeah, she's not gonna watch this.
Wow, that hurt a little bit. And with that, we're gonna. Well, all of our egos are just kind of in the dumpster, so we're going to end it there. That's what I get for asking him if he's selling drugs. And I think Cam and Pat are going to come back and talk about the need for a muralist at the Barack Obama Library in St. Pete. It's been Kathy with a Cop. Hopefully we will see Josh or somebody else with a sweet, smiling police officer face back with us next week. And take it away, Cam and Pat.
Did you know, in 1968, our founder, George Brand, started the Gabber newspaper, then called the Gulfport Gabber, to hold Gulfport City Council accountable. Read more of our City Council coverage and learn about our policies on reporting, fact-checking, and funding. Visit thegabber.com.
Wow, wasn't that wild? I mean, when he walked in here, I didn't know all that about Yvonne, but that's really cool.
That's actually crazy.
Kind of a coincidence.
He was probably sitting there all like,
Yeah, Josh was sitting up front just hearing us talk about that. And
He's like, funny you say that because, like, honestly, sorry, your dad. All right, well, back to the scheduled program. I will be talking to you guys about the President Barack Obama Main Library. It was, I think it was 2021 that they closed it temporarily to do a bunch of renovations. It's going to be amazing. But one of the things that they want to do is beautify the library. And the city of St. Petersburg is having a call for artists to be part of the murals at the library. And but I found it so cool because they have there's requirements basically. So you'll have to already know how to do like murals and work with other people and designs and all the stuff that you'll need as an artist. But they're also requiring your piece that you're going to be submitting to reflect history of St. Pete. Also to show the importance of education and learning. But then you also have to make it honor the legacy of former Barack Obama.
Former President Barack Obama.
Former Barack Obama. Former president. Sorry, Barack. Didn't mean that. But, so I'm really excited to see murals of Barack Obama's face everywhere. Maybe one of him and Harry Styles together.
No, this is a really cool project.
It is a really cool project. I can't wait.
I love the way that they're. I mean, we've talked a lot about art on the podcast in the past and art in St. Pete, and I think that it's something.
St. Pete is art.
I think it's something really unique to the area. Is like when we talked about the murals in South Pasadena. It's just like something that you don't think about, but it grabs your eye as you're driving by.
And it's something that you can do. Like anybody in Pinellas County is like eligible if you're an artist.
Yeah, if you're an artist and you feel like you
can
can connect education and art
and the community,
honor St. Pete's history and honor the legacy of Barack Obama, submit your name, submit some pieces, and work with some other great artists because I think that this is something that is really important. Art becomes such an important piece in a lot of people's lives, and this is a really cool way to show that in a city that art is so prominent in.
Yeah, absolutely. No matter where you go in St. Pete, you're going to see like huge murals of just things that are based on the community in that area and district and whatnot.
In St. Pete alone, I remember when I was at Speak Out, one of the speakers worked closely with the city in relation to art, and they do like statistics on the economic impacts of art. She said that it brings in $30-something million a year just art and like the tourism that people take to St. Pete for art, the
Did
museums.
You know there's like a walking like tour of like people going down that mural alley near Central or something? I like don't quote me for real, but like there's mural walks and stuff like that where you can like take a tour and do that?
Anywhere in
So that makes
almost
sense.
anywhere in the county, you'll find like an art walk or a museum
Mm-hmm.
or galleries. We got a gallery right across the street from us. It's
I know where
Tuesday,
you are.
so there's art all up and down the street today. And
Yeah.
I mean, this is just a really cool way for people to kind of, I think it's really cool that the city is putting out this call and just being like, St. Pete artists, come paint in St. Pete.
Yeah.
Come do St. Pete art.
Be a part of something that is evolving St. Pete.
Yeah, and I mean, this is going to be in St. Pete for a very long time.
Yeah.
So
they're doing like renovations right now. So it's going to be, like you said, it's going to be forever.
and
Until next time they have to renovate it. But as of right now, it will be renovated. They're currently doing renovations right now. And then it's going to be fully done for artists to paint on whatever they need in the spring of 2025.
well, that's right around the
So
corner.
it's less than a year, I'm assuming, like what the time frame is. They only said spring. They weren't giving me any dates. But so that will be exciting. Just if you are interested in submitting any of your work and being a part of the project.
And St. Pete history in general.
Yeah, just being a part of it, being all. So you have until July 27th at 5 p.m. that day to submit any of your work, and they will reach back out to you sometime. Selected artists will know about their project by fall of this year. So just
Oh,
in
cool.
a
So
just in a couple months,
quick
not too
turnaround,
long.
but-
Yeah. So good luck, everybody.
Good luck, and
We'll see you next time
we will see you next
Maybe?
time
on WGAB, the
GabCast.
GabCast.